begin tonight with part 2 of our 6 Inside exclusive, The Day She'll Never Forget. My co-anchor Robin Wolfram sat down for a one-on-one conversation with a woman who was kidnapped, raped, stabbed, and then left for dead at the hands of a 16-year-old Garner kid, Blair Greiman. That was 44 years ago. But just last month at the Aldi grocery store in Mason City, Greiman was charged again for trying to do the same thing to another woman. Fortunately, she escaped. Robin joins us now with the rest of the first victim story. And Robin, wasn't the Aldi grocery store for that first victim really close to the old Kmart where this happened?
That's right, it was, Maisie. In fact, it was just across the street, Highway 18 in Mason City. Nearly the same location, the same crime, and the same name of the man who was charged with kidnapping and attempted murder nearly 4 decades ago. Tonight, in part 2 of my 6 Inside exclusive, we pick up her story just after she was sexually tortured by Greiman at his parents' home in Garner and then forcing her back into his car. The snow that day gave way to a dense fog, and the details, she said, were becoming more difficult now to remember, but not impossible. After brutally attacking her at his parents' home, which is located just 5 miles west towards Garner, he drove another 5 to 10 minutes before he dropped her off here, where he once again attacked her, striking her in the head with a gun and stabbing her twice. She recalls driving on a gravel road. Each turn, every building, anything she could use to recall what happened if she survived to tell the story to investigators. That's when Greiman came to a stop here next to this culvert, where area hunters often set traps. But she was determined her fate wouldn't end like that.
My hands were tied behind my back at that point. He lets me out of the car and says, "I can walk from here." I said, "Oh, well, can you untie my hands?" And he did.
And just when she thought she was finally free, she somehow ended up on the side of the gravel road where Greiman had parked. Kneeling on the ground, she began begging for her life.
So then a flash goes through my head. Oh yeah, there's a knife. I looked up and I saw the reflection of a knife coming at me. So I was stabbed in the neck, but I rolled quick enough that it must have missed where he was aiming. And so then at that point I got up on all fours. It poured out like Kool-Aid and I screamed, yes, stabbed me in the back and then kicked me over into the ditch. I went, and then I just prayed and prayed.
Praying and playing dead until she heard Greiman drive away. Miraculously, or perhaps in answer to her prayers, she was able to crawl up out of the ditch onto the road, and from there, more prayers answered. A couple who'd been driving along the gravel road saw her crawling, covered in blood.
So then I heard people saying, "Where'd she go? Where'd she go?" And that's when I said, "I'm down here. I don't want to die." The man stayed with me, and she ran to the next place to use someone's phone. I just kept saying, "I'm so tired, I'm so tired," and I said, "I don't want to die." And he says, "No, you're not going to die," and he kind of was shaking me to keep me awake.
With blood pouring from her neck and back, and later learning that she had several broken ribs, a collapsed lung, shoulder, and nerve damage, was brutally raped and severely bruised from the physical abuse, she was rushed to the hospital. And she survived. She also remembered every detail. Every town, every turn, every building, which led authorities to Blair Greiman's home in Garner. But there was one more fear she had to face. Having to see him in court.
Mm-hmm.
Was that the first time you saw him?
Yes, it was.
Tell me about that.
Very scary, very nervous, but I wanted to be the one that could point the finger.
And her courage paid off. Greiman was found guilty of first-degree kidnapping and attempted murder. He was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole.
Wow, what an incredible story, Robin, for her to go on camera, for you to talk to her. How did we get to this point, though? Why was he out of prison in the first place?
That's a question that I get asked a lot. She gets asked it quite often as well. Greiman was 16 at the time, and he was tried in adult court, but a recent and a precedent that was set by the U.S. Supreme Court paved the way for his release. It allows juveniles, despite being convicted as adults, a second chance. So Greiman was paroled in 2017. He became a family man. He even served as a deacon at Peace Reformed Church in Garner. But tonight, Greiman is back behind bars in the Sarasota County Jail. And Maisie, he will be back in court next Tuesday, May 27th.